Well, hello, my name is Jim Royal. I'm a huge Beatles and Elvis Presley fan and basically classic rock in general. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. If you could do a thumbs up, that's always most appreciated. And feel free to leave comments. I always enjoy reading them, and I do my best to try to respond in a timely manner. Today I'm going to be doing a Beatles, a unique and most unusual find. And this is something that I came across at a record store. It's a little far away from me, but I drove there in December. I made the trip over there. I know the owner. It's a mom and pop small record store, and it's just really a lot of fun going in there. The owner knows I'm a big Beatles fan, and when I went in there, he came up to me and he says, "Hey Jim," he says, I have a collection I just received that came in. Haven't really had the time to price it yet, but I'm going through it, but you're welcome to look at it. And if you see anything, let me know. I said, hey, great. So I'm thumbing through the box, looking at it, and it's Beatle-related stuff, really cool things. There's a lot of it's from the 1970s, from what I gathered. There's rock and roll, there's the Red album, the Blue album. There's some solo Beatle releases in there. I saw it looked like some earlier pressings of some of the Beatle UK albums, which were cool, and some of them were just kind of pricey, I could tell. He had it post-it notes. He had like the cheap stuff in the back, and he put like a 20 on there, and then 30, 40, 50, and so on. He was trying, but he was still scoping it out. So I came across this one right here, and I asked him, and I said, how much for this one? And he says, $20. I'm like, are you sure? You sure you want to give that to me for that? He says, yeah, that's fine. And the other thing I wanted to mention in the box were also bootlegs. Okay, so that's initially what I thought this was. I thought, oh, this has got to be a bootleg. But I asked him, I said, do you think this is legit? Is this the real thing? So I want to show it to you first. There are some subtle differences. Take a look at that. And then here's the back side. Okay, and look at the label. The label, it says on here, it's a South Korean label called Taido. And it says 1969. Okay, hopefully you can read that. But take a look at that label and look at those songs. And then look at this too. Okay. Record's a little flimsy. I looked at the jacket. The jacket, it's cardboard. It's a little thin. I mean, it's okay. And you could see that it almost looks like they took like a Xerox, like a copy machine, and they just copied, the record or the jacket, the artwork on here, and just slapped it on here. It is properly affixed though on there. You can see that. And then there is a sleeve that looks like it's been aging. This is an older record. You can tell. Has some ring wear right there. So I asked him, I said, well, what do you think about this? Do you think that this was, released at the time? Do you think it's a South Korean release? What do you think? He says, Jim, I've seen blue and white versions of this, not red and white. So he says, I've just never seen this. And we went online, we were investigating, couldn't see anything. Now, I will be honest, this morning, I went on eBay and I actually saw this same record release with the cover and artwork, everything on there, and they wanted substantially more than this one. Now I paid $20 for that, and I paid it just for the fun of it. But let's look at the artwork here. So the original Abbey Road doesn't have Abbey Road written there, and it doesn't have songs on there, and it doesn't have the Beatles on there. And it's almost like silk screening, like maybe they silk screen this. And maybe when they printed it, some of the wording was cut off because it's come together, H-E-R. I don't know, the H looks like it's cut off and it looks like an F. And then something's fine. And then Grammatically, you can see there's errors there, and then it says another, which probably means to signify in other songs. Now the back, there's nothing really different on there. I mean, it does look like possibly an earlier pressing because it doesn't have Here Today in there, listed. Some of the later releases would. It's got the record label Taito. It's stereophonic, so it's a stereo. So that's good. And then on the back here, I don't know, it's got like a Y6 something there at the end. But let's take a look at this. So I played the record and I thought it sounded really good. Okay, it was a stereo record. I had a nice experience. I played it this morning before I did this video and really enjoyed it a lot. And then I was thinking, well, all right, well maybe let's see if I Want You is actually the full version. Let's see if it cuts off early in the wax. How is that? And everything was fine with that. And then I'm like, all right, well, let's listen to the second side and hear if Her Majesty's actually on there. Maybe it's only like almost a 30-second song. Maybe they didn't put it on there. Yeah, they put it on there. They didn't list it on there, but they put it on there, and that's legitimate also. And I can see in the wax, I can see that, yeah, there would be space for that. So that turned out really good. So I asked him, I said, look, is this a bootleg or what? And he says, look, here's my thing. I think it's legit. It's probably South Korean. And there's a lot of spelling errors on here, which I'll show you, which tells me that it was not made here in America and probably wasn't made in Western Europe. And he says that it's probably, from the early to mid-70s. And I would say that too. Just the fact that they have, come together and something listed on it also would tell me that it might be a little bit later because, the record came out November -69. And that single came out, so people would have been familiar with that afterwards. So this is probably a 50-year-old plus record, maybe. That's what I'm hoping. But I wanted to show this to you, this unique and most unusual find, to find out what you think. If you've come across it, if you can say, yeah, this is definitely a bootleg, or yeah, you've got a legitimate release here, even with all these spelling errors. And let's go into that, okay? So what I have is there are 3 spelling errors alone on side 1. You have something, it's 2 words instead of 1 word. You've got Maxwell's Silver Hammer. Maxwell is MEX, and there's no hammer, that's gone. And then silver is sliver, SLI. And then Octopus's Garden, octopus is spelled wrong. It's OCTEP. And then I Want You, there's no She's So Heavy. So take a look at that now that I've told you. See that? And then let's look at the other. On side 2, there's about 5 errors that I can tell. Here Comes the Sun is HELE instead of here. You've got Sun King, which is 1 word. And this is the funny one. Instead of Mean Mr. Mustard, you have Moon Mr. and then mustard is spelled wrong without the S. Polythene Pam, polythene is spelled wrong. Instead of ENE, it's EME. And then I really like this one. Instead of she came in through the bathroom window, it's she in through the bathroom, and then window is separated. WIN space, and then DOW. And everything else looks good on there. So it says manufactured by Taito. It says 1969 record company, and then Seoul, Korea. Full frequency range sound stereophonic Taito. Now I did some research about this label and I wanted to find out, hey, what's going on with this? So here's what I found out. It's a historic Korean record label known for releasing various genres including electronic and potentially rare rock metal vinyls like Black Sabbath, operating under different entities like Taito Record Company, Taito, and then Taito Record Manufacturing Company, issuing music with Ministry of Culture and Information Registration. And it says it's a South Korean record company. And, you know, it does say they're involved in releasing electronic music and vintage rock metal albums, known for some hard-to-find vinyls, including a rare Black Sabbath album. A recognized part of Korea's musical history with the Ministry of Culture and Information registration number. And then it did say that legitimately it would license products, you know, like records from, you know, Western, you know, Europe and possibly the States too. So, again, thank you for watching my video, and please leave your comments and tell me what you think about this release. Is this just another bootleg, or is this maybe a legitimate release from Korea, possibly from '69 or maybe in the '70s or maybe even later? Thanks for watching my video. You take care. Bye.